up, guys? This man back at it again with a brand new review of Horizons. Now, we're going to do a 2-in-1 review like we did last week because these episodes basically go back to back. So, if you guys like the video, subscribe for more content like this in the future because we probably just got one of Horizons' biggest episodes ever. Alright, so the first episode, episode 74. Starts off where last episode ended off with Liko's grandmother arriving back on the Rising Boat Tackler ship. That is when everyone says their hellos, and Diana actually challenges Liko for a battle to see how much she's improved. And we could see fast improvements, and Liko even pointed out herself, where when she was battling alongside Roy, they were struggling to get a hit in, but now, by herself, her and Floragato are able to basically hold their own, and even once they terrestrialize, win against Arcanine. I gotta say, I really like the strategy of what Liko was doing. Liko was trying to dodge and go far, while Diana was trying to rush in with these strong flaming attacks with flame burst and flame charge. So yeah, and then Liko was just using her her knowledge to basically avoid it, and then once she terrestrializes, she's strong enough to take out Diana. Maybe in the future we can get one more battle with Diana where Liko doesn't even need the terrestrialize to beat her, but we'll see. Diana compliments Liko, and that's when Roy and Dot have to get involved in this grandmother-granddaughter bonding moment, saying, yeah, we got stronger too. And she's actually proud of all the kids has they gotten this strong since they last seen each other, and the progress that's being made on basically working towards their combined goal of figuring out the story behind Lucius. So yeah, this starts off a big, for the rest of the episode, explanation central. Basically, everyone explaining what they've learned on the side, because we learn Diana has been exploring and found out something big that she wants to tell the rest of the Rising Boat Tacklers. So she, figured out where they were and tracked them down. So basically, she gives some information that I genuinely thought everyone knew earlier, where she mentions that Hamber was there during the attack on the castle, and her and Hamber were once friends. And she even introduces who he is to all of them and says, "Oh yeah, together we were once friends." And then and then one day he came around asking about Liko and the pendant, and that's when I knew Liko might be in danger. So that's why she's with all of you now. And I feel like that's a really good explanation to explain because I always thought it was weird that Liko's mom and dad just sent Liko off to Kanto and then immediately had someone pick her up. It would be it makes a lot more sense that something like this happened where, before Liko leaves for Kanto, Diana gives her the pendant. While she's heading towards Kanto, Hamber visits her and says, "Oh, what happened with that pendant? Blah 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 blah." And she lets it slip that, "Oh, my granddaughter has it." Fearing for Liko's safety, that's when she tells the parents, and they contact Freed, and Freed gets it. That makes a lot more sense because that would really explain something that has been semi-modern about the earlier episodes. But yeah, they talk about Hamber and all of that, and then we also learned that Diana has been exploring towns where she knew Lucius has passed through, and she's discovered through journals that Lucius had 2 buddies with them. This being the explorers, also making a lot of sense after what Diana previously said, where she once did say explorers were Lucius's allies. We learn of the 2 explorers that are with it, Gibeon and Ristle. That's when all the Rising Boat Tacklers are shocked and say, "Hey, we know who Ristle is." When they mentioned that when they caught Cleavor earlier, within the day or week or whatever, and the last episode when they caught Cleavor, they saw a flashback where Lucius was talking to someone named Ristle. So basically, that just confirms Diana's theory about who this Ristle person is and her connection to Lucius. But they're also all confused about who Gibeon is, and that's when Frida's all confused about, do we know who Gibeon even is and all that. And we get one of the funniest jokes ever where Liko here's the thing. This is something where it's why wouldn't she mention it? But it is actually kind of funny, the explanation to it, where they say, Freed's rubbing off on her now. Where she says straight up, "Oh, I know who Gibeon is. It's Amithio's grandpa." And everyone's just shocked that she knows this and says that when she was with Amithio in the cave, he mentioned that his grandfather, Gibeon, was the leader of the explorers. So that they basically all start to put together this picture that something happened in the past that caused Lucius to go missing, blah, blah, or that caused all the hero Pokemon to get scattered all, and now they want to head back to Raqua, and Gibeon's also taking over the explorers. That's what they're able to put together. And that's also where Freed wants to, they start bringing up Requiem, where they ask Diana if she's heard anything about what Requiem is yet, where she doesn't. So basically, they left her on square one to that. And after all the discussion, they take a break. So basically, after all of them putting together, it's basically, this episode was just a Rising Goat Tacklers putting together strings that they haven't yet, and for, I guess, the audience who haven't put together some of the stuff, like, we've obviously been able, like, if you pay enough attention, you're obviously able to put this stuff together yourself, like stuff knowing, like, hey, Lucius was once an explorer, because Diana straight up says it. But if you're not, like, constantly making sure, like, you're paying attention and, like, trying to find the connection between the secrets of Lucius, you wouldn't have known. I used to be trying to do that, but not. Or, I used to try to make videos on that, but not. But yeah, that's when everyone starts to get hungry, so Loblo suggests a break, where they talk about what the next stage of their plan is, and they talk about leaving Kitakami, and that's when Liko actually says, hey, before that, I want to actually go visit the Crystal Pool one more time, because of the legend with the Crystal Pool of summoning the dead. What if they can summon Lucius, or even someone from Lucius' past? And it actually works. They head to the Crystal Pool, and Terapagos is able to summon Bristol, who is holding a baby. That is when Bristol actually drops a crazy bit of lore and reveals that Terapagos wasn't one of Lucius' Pokemon, it was her Pokemon partner. She called it Pagogo, like, I don't really know. It's some weird name. We get this thing of Bristol where Liko introduces herself and sends out all the hero Pokemon, and she's like confused why Liko has it, and that's when Freed steps in and say, hey, we're the Rising Goat Tacklers. I know this is weird, but you're Terapagos and the Crystal Pool. You're in a place called the Crystal Pool, which has the ability to summon people through time. And that's what's happening here. Which Bristol, she's shocked, of course, but she's like, it makes sense because of what she's experienced with her life with Lucius and Terapagos and all of that, being able to see basically all of this. And she's like happy to see Terapagos, where she says, I'm happy you awakened from the pendant. And we even see her wearing that pendant, and we get later confirmation about it, and she's happy to see all of Lucius' Pokemon are okay, and apologizes to all of them that she wasn't able to find them after the incident, an incident that we later get revealed. And that is when the baby starts crying that she was holding, and she says its name. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really remember the name is, but that actually shocks Diana, because the name of the baby is also the name of Diana's mother. So that means Liko is a descendant of Lucius. Shockers! I know, right? Like, it almost made sense why the pendant was in the attic of Liko's grandmother's childhood home. Because her daughter, she is the daughter of Lucius. Which Bristol straight up says. We also get a confirmation that the reason why Diana doesn't know this is because Bristol died, I think, a little early due to the interactions with the Eternal Blessing, I think that is what they said. I'm sorry, I'm going off my memory, and I watched these episodes like the day it came out because these were really good episodes. But yeah, that's where the first episode ends off, with the shocking twist that Liko is a descendant of Lucius. Wow, we've been saying this since Lucius was introduced. It only took like 70 episodes for this to get confirmed. But yeah, finally, the Rising Goat Tacklers are on track of basically where the audience knowledge is that the story, they know basically the full story of like who the explorers are, Gibeon. They now know fully the identity of Gibeon and all that. But the only thing they don't know is the story behind Bristol, Lucius, and what is Raqua. But yeah, overall, I gotta give this episode a 9 out of 10. It was really good. When I first watched it, I thought it was like kind of boring because there was just a lot of lore. But like, given to what the next episode was, especially because a lot of the lore they give is stuff you as the audience already know, like the connection, like that realistically should have been stuff that they shared off screen. Like, I'm sorry, like, why did, like, the thing with Amithio happened so long ago, so why didn't Liko share, hey, Amithio said this Gibeon guy is the leader of the explorers, and put it together with, hey, Diana also said the explorers were once Amifio's friends. Maybe there's a connection there where Amifio's grandfather could be a descendant or something. But yeah, that's really all that episode is. It's just lore dump and just a really good setup with Bristol coming in at the end and setting up next episode, which I'm gonna start the review of right now. This episode gets right into things with them asking Bristol the story of her and Lucius and what does she know about Raqua. She does confirm though she does not know where Raqua is, so she can't really give the Rising Gold Tacklers that detail. But she can tell them the story of her and Lucius, which she does. She reveals that when she was like on a voyage in Paldea, she had found Terapagos in the Area Zero crater, which I'm happy we finally get this reveal because everyone's like, "Oh, Terapagos!" Like they made it so unclear about the origins of Terapagos, but I'm happy they finally just straight up said, "Hey, Terapagos was from this place, moved on, and then eventually went to Raqua because of their search." But yeah, because Bristol has this rare legendary Pokemon Terapagos, she is being constantly hunted down by like crooks and thieves wanting to capture it and sell Terapagos for money. But one day, she stumbles upon a strange man who has a black Rayquaza and saves her. I gotta say that's kind of overkill for these like little goons, but yeah, the two of them meet, get along, and their Pokemon even get along with the black Rayquaza and Terapagos quickly becoming friends. And Lucius actually invites her on their journey with them in order to survive, and wanting to know more about Terapagos and Bristol. And that's when we also get a really clear confirmation of Lucius's time. He's in a time period where he's had already explored Area Zero because he straight up pulls out the Scarlet book and says, "I read this book once," and pulls out the Scarlet book and mentions Mr. Heath once had an encounter with this Pokemon he referred to as Terapagos, but nobody believed them. But I'm one who likes to believe legend. And that's when the two of them talk about another legend, a place called Raqua, where powerful legendary Pokemon reside. And that's where they both then agree to make a promise, wanting to find Raqua in order to basically prove this legend true. And I gotta say, I loved it. I love their relationship. Like they like I wish like that would be really cool to have like an anime of them like traveling together and like looking for a place like this, but we already know the outcome. But like realistically, that's actually like a really good like way to connect both of them where it's like, "Oh, you have a Terapagos. I was someone who always believed that the legend of Terapagos exists, even though most people didn't believe Mr. Hamber's research. You make me realize, hey, what if more legends in the world are true? Let's go find them together." That is like a really good reason for them looking for Raqua, and I just like the whole like hidden lore behind. Oh, Raqua was this like fairy tale like place of strong Pokemon, and that's why like no one really mentions it because we don't know if this is connected to Ash or anything. But that's why like we know like nobody really knows what Raqua is. The only people who know what Raqua are people through like people who've heard the tale that was passed on through Liko's father's book, and also, but only people within the big families of the original explorers, which is basically Liko's family and the what Gibeon turned the explorers into. Like, if this is connected to Ash, this could explain why. Hey, someone like Giovanni wants to find rare Pokemon. Why doesn't he just go to Raqua? Well, Raqua is unknown. It's basically like this fairy tale place that shows up in the stories that no one's ever proved. But there are people who have been there, as we can tell, and it's people whose bloodline do pass on the story, and it's the people looking for it. But yeah, we see Bristol and Lucius basically going around the town asking people what they know about Raqua when they funnily run into Gibeon, who is basically like, he seems to be like an explorer slash Pokemon professor who wants to study Raqua and all the legendary Pokemon into it. And we also do get a scene where they invite Gibeon to go along with them, and he does. And we even see Bristol say, "I'm happy we were like friends," because we also see like scenes where Gibeon like would help out Bristol and Lucius, and she even says it might have been a mistake at first. She even says, although what happened with him like was a mistake that they made at the time, they actually all were friends and like grew as friends, but like this mistake later on changed it. So yeah, basically, story continues on where Gibeon and the group, or Lucius, Bristol, Gibeon, they travel the world, eventually undiscovering where Raqua is. And they find like legendary Pokemon, like they see Latios and Latios, they see a Terrakion just laying around, and they begin to explore deeper and deeper until they find an area that is like dead around it with a mysterious crystal. Gibeon wants to study the crystal, but Lucius points out that what if it's dangerous because look what it's doing to the environment. So Lucius like wants them all to basically evacuate the area, not wanting to get in any danger. But Gibeon doesn't like that because this is this kind of thing he wanted to come to Raqua for, to find this like great discovery because that's what his dream was. At the campsite, they notice that Gibeon has gone missing and they hear destruction within the thing. That's when they find him and Zygarde destroying the Eternal Blessing, or the rock that they know as the Eternal Blessing. Lucius wants him to stop, but he refuses because he's evil now, blah blah blah. The power of Pokemon is in his hand. And the more they damage the Eternal Blessing, the more we see the wild Pokemon around them going berserk, to the point where they start jumping Ristle. Or they start attacking Ristle, Lucius, and even Gibeon himself, but they all have legendary Pokemon, so they all are semi-fine to these things. But yeah, Lucius decides to step in and, together with his Pokemon, fight off Gibeon. So yeah, Gibeon and Zygarde fight Lucius and realize it's... they fight, and eventually Zygarde uses its power, seeing what the Eternal Blessing is doing to the environment, to destroy to destroy the Eternal Blessing. This actually like angers Gibeon. He's like, "What are you doing? I'm your master." And it's also this is also a reason why we see Zygarde in its 10% form, because when it was in its 50% form, it used all the energy of its Zygarde cores to basically absorb the Eternal Blessing and destroy it. But it's not enough, and the reaction like causes basically Gibeon to fall into a crater and supposedly die, but we know he survived somehow with his Zygarde. That's when Lucius realizes he needs to step up in order to destroy the Eternal Blessing. So him, his Pokemon, and Terapagos taking its stellar type form, all combine their power, destroying the Eternal Blessing, when Lucius also apologizes to all of his Pokemon and Ristle for having to sacrifice himself. And this is where we presumably see Lucius die, Terapagos turn into the pendant for the rest of time, Gibeon's disappearance and eventually like reappearance as an explorer. All of that happens. And I gotta say, that tale is actually incredible. Like the flashback, just like for what we know, I feel like this is the perfect point to do it because we're like probably the halfway of the series. To give all that context now, after basically like we've like been uncovering the mystery, I feel like that works better than like say like, oh, like 10 episodes in we got this flashback, and like because we wouldn't have cared, we wouldn't have had the mystery build up to know like who these characters are and like actually see them, because I feel like that's one of the benefits of the episode. We had a build. This is the first time we are properly like seeing Lucius, like, and not like a quick scene. Same thing with Gibeon, but because of what we know about the history and what we've been able to piece together, we know of the outcome. So it's interesting and makes it more like tragic to see what the outcome results in, and it results in Lucius dead, Gibeon gone and down the wrong path, and we're still alone with her child. After hearing the tale, they're all like sad and like and stuff because of what happened with Bristol and Lucius and all of that. And that's when Bristol does say, "I'm happy that there are people continuing our legacy and wanting and reassembling the team and protecting over Terapagos." And she's happy Terapagos found a new trainer. And that's when she actually gives her blessing, tells Liko to catch Terapagos. And that's where this episode actually goes. Liko catches Terapagos finally, officially. I gotta say, this should have happened. This is the perfect point for this happened, because like realistically, I thought Terapagos was just gonna be a companion mon that like eventually gets released at the end of the series, but no, it seems like Liko is gonna catch Terapagos and go all the way, for now at least. But yeah, it's actually a really beautiful scene with Terapagos crying, getting farewell from her original or from its original owner, and getting like a consent. Hey, you have this person. You have Liko now. You and Liko belong together, and Liko catches it. It was just a really beautiful scene, and it's nice to know Terapagos is officially now against Pokemon. The episode ends with Diana deciding to go off when they're confused, like, why won't you just come with us? And she says, well, I have my own stuff I want to do now. I have my own stuff to undiscover. It's your guys' turn to undiscover the mystery. You're the next generation. She leaves them with that, heads off with Arcanine. And that's when Fried says, now that we know all this information, let's get going. And they now are after, and they're now going after Entei, which we'll see within the next couple episodes. But yeah, the episode properly ends with a scene where my goat Spinel is talking with Agate, and it's also revealed that Spinel is basically taking ownership of the company. Oh, I did forget to mention this. Fried mentions he knows who Gibeon is. He says that, or no, Fried mentions that the explorers are the owners of the company he used to work at, and that's how they got the Eternal Blessing. And I don't know, I forgot what the context of him figuring that out, but I think it was just his boss said there was a man like on the other side, and like he's like noticed like in his own like time like studying when he was at the research lab, they would get all their funding from a place an association called the Explorers. So, but yeah, but we see Gibeon has full access to that research lab. We see him and Agate talking, where he straight up says, "I had to get a Mythio out of the way if I'm gonna be the one to stand by our leader's side as we head towards Raqua," implying that maybe a Mythio has his own grand plan. I mean, maybe Spinel has his own grand plan. It would be crazy if they make it to Raqua and then Spinel ends up just usurping Gibeon's like status as like the big bad main villain. I think that'd be crazy. But yeah, that's what I can hope as a Spinel fan. But overall, I gotta say this episode is a 10 out of 10. Perfect. Literally gives you everything I've been wanting to know, like the full context of Liko, of like Lucius, the story of Liko, his family, what happened with Gibeon, what is the Eternal Blessing, why does Gibeon Zygarde in 10%, now why hasn't Liko caught Terapagos? It explains everything. And I gotta say, that's all I can really say about it. Like a really good Horizons episode. I don't know if I liked it more than the Captain Pikachu and Fried episode, but I gotta say, it is if not the best, second best. But it is a top tier Horizons episode. And just episode of Pokemon in general. But yeah, hope you guys liked the video. Sorry it's a little longer. Like I said, it's 2 episodes in one, and I rather do like one long video for 2 episodes than multiple 10-15 minute videos for the other episodes. But yeah, if you guys liked the video, subscribe for more content like this in the future. S-Man signing off.